He was brought up in darkness, literally speaking, and he does not want people to experience what he went through. Today on Daring Abroad, we feature Edwin Ngugi, who against all odds got a chance to move to Germany, then Poland, and then the US, where he eventually established his own solar power company. But he's not stuck there. He makes trips to Kenya. Guess doing what? Lighting up villages. Edwin begins by sharing his childhood experience. His mother worked in the police force and would be posted to different parts of Kenya, meaning Edwin was exposed to different cultures at an early age.
So for instance, I had some parts of elementary school in the Rift Valley, and then early on the primary school I was all the way across the other side of the country, Nanyuki. Then I think she got posted to some place where I couldn't really study there, so I ended up moving in with my cousins in Thika.
Edwin says that meant making new friends every 2 to 3 years of his childhood life. But that wasn't really a big problem to him. Something else bothered him.
One of my schools didn't have electricity and it was a boarding school. We had a generator which was constantly breaking down, I remember. And after 6 p.m. you'd have to go back to class in the evenings. The lights were constantly flickering, and waking up at 5 a.m., the generator not working, kind of struggling around.
Necessity is the mother of all inventions, they say. Edwin's struggle with darkness forced him to come up with ways to light up his dark world.
I was constantly trying to MacGyver, like light, you know. So anytime there was an old car battery laying around, or those big D-cells battery, I was constantly trying to chain them up together and put the light bulb on. Or in boarding school, the one student who had some sort of light, you know, and it didn't last long, it was maybe 15 minutes, but you could see the excitement around it.
At an early age, Edwin knew that solar energy was his friend.
Once our radio would go off, the batteries were dead, and this calculator would bring it in the light and it would start functioning. And I didn't have the physics itself at the moment. I was so young to figure out. But I could tell there was energy in the sun.
After finishing his O-levels at Kirwara High School in Kiambu in 1998, Edwin didn't get good grades to enable him pursue his dream, that is engineering. And this meant he had to look for an alternative.
So I did a parallel program at the University of Nairobi, which I didn't finish. I was doing public relations at the time.
And as the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. So was Edwin's case. An opportunity came knocking to go abroad for an exchange program by an organization known as ISEC.
ISEC was a students' body organization that gave college kids opportunities to travel to other countries and be placed in a similar college environment, and then they provided you some kind of an internship. So you ended up getting the cultural exposure of another place where you're still a student. So I took on a program in Karlsruhe in Germany, and we learned so much from that trip. That was a big eye-opener for me.
While in Germany, Edwin met some Polish students who connected him with yet another exchange program, and in no time, he was on his way to Poland.
I was teaching English at a handicap school, and the principal of that school was taking care of my basics like food and transportation. And then the university, the polytechnic there, was paying for our hostel accommodation.
Luck was clearly on Edwin's side because through the same organization, in 2003, he found himself in the United States.
I was really good at meeting people and connecting with them, and I was always very curious. I was always like, hey, where are you from? What's it like? And I always felt like there was something out there I was seeking, and anytime I met someone new, I was non-stop full of questions. And I had some relatives in the US, had many friends that I met in the US who are US students overseas. So there was already a little bit of a connection there.
Edwin arrived in the US a month earlier than the scheduled date, and that gave him an opportunity to learn yet another skill while staying with two Polish brothers.
Stayed with them the first day. Second day I noticed they were leaving for work. and I was just at home, kind of bored, and I knew I needed one to get money to fly me from there to where I was going, which was, in the Midwest, in Indiana. And next day I saw them come back. They had the vans. They did construction, the floating tools. So I asked them, hey, can I come work with you guys?
Edwin worked as a helper for the two brothers who were impressed with his work, and within no time they had taught him their craft and he was able to do construction work. However, after a month he had to part ways with them to go and undertake his program at the Indiana University. The exchange program was not about studying but experiencing a new culture.
And my landlord had multiple houses, and I remember him kind of coming there to do some raking, do some painting repairs after a roommate had moved out, and had done some painting with the guys over there in New Jersey. So I said, hey man, can I help paint for some rent money, He was like, all right. He tried me out, and I was like, okay, good, I like this, So paint the other room. So next thing, he was bringing me to a few of his other properties, and I was pretty much, all of a sudden, I was doing a lot of his labor chores.
Being a go-getter, Edwin met new friends at a conference in Chicago, who in turn invited him over to Seattle City.
I ended up working with a general contractor in Seattle, and from there I learned all aspects of basic construction. The local city government was hiring for they had a bridge maintenance crew. Got brought in, and I got training from these guys for about 3 or so years. We did a lot of structural, mechanical, gears on bridges, hydraulics, power lines to the bridges, hydrant, so the water systems to these bridges.
This was short-lived. He felt that his job was becoming monotonous and he wanted to do something different.
I want to say 2013-ish, quit the job. I pick on solar installation gigs with other companies. So, I was up on the roofs in the summer, very physical, tough work, I left a really cool job to get up on the roof, and but I realized I'd come home and I still feel very excited, especially once we set up all the solar panels on the roof and then turn the system on and start seeing the power being generated coming into the house and seeing the owners, just the joy the owners would have, like, wow, are we running off this now? I'm like, oh yeah, this is all solar.
Eventually, Edwin embarked on setting up his own company in Seattle City to install solar panels, but this came with its share of challenges.
Starting a business is a process, and so to raise money, I took on a winter job, putting some money away, coming into town, getting my licenses for the business, getting people I knew in the trades who had the experience as electricians, trying to convince them, hey, come work, let's do this. And even more challenging is finding the work, trying to approach a business or a home and saying, hey, please let me install solar on your house, and you have much of a portfolio.
He was inspired as he saw his company grow.
I'm mostly now out there bringing in the business or seeking projects. We do specialize in commercial systems, residential, and I do have a division where we take on projects which are more on a non-profit kind of base, whereby I've devoted to take on a project once a year to communities that could actually benefit from solar energies.
Yes, Edwin, despite his many years abroad, has not forgotten his motherland. He gives back to the society, and Masai Mara is his first choice in his ambition to light up villages in Kenya. He has installed solar panels in 20 homes in this project so far.
It was a pretty basic kit, so each home got 2 or 3 lamps. So, and then they got a phone charging outlet. So each hut would get, some volunteers. We'd train them on the equipment and have them hands-on install it. So it was actually really exciting seeing how many children and women were actually fully just overwhelmingly running all the electrical wires in their hearts.
Sidai namo kitong nkajijik arie na kibung'si nkera kutitik neyierishoreki neeta enkima naichajieki simui neeku nejia.
For Edwin, solar energy is the future, and Kenya has a lot of potential in renewable energy.
The challenge here is making it accessible. I think it's still probably, for most households, an expensive commodity. But if you look at the rates of what we pay for electricity over a 5 or 10 year period, it makes a lot of sense for us to try and figure out ways where we can make it, you know, if it needs financing, to make it that the average household, if not more, can afford to switch to solar.
The solar power enthusiast is advising young people that success does not necessarily come from white-collar jobs.
People need to get out, man, and wake up. For those young folks especially, now that I'm employing young people, I've noticed there's a generation that's not wanting to break a sweat, you know, or feeling that they should be making more yet they are not experienced. So for those who don't mind getting out there and just be eager, because you could learn so much.
For Edwin, solar power installation is just like a hobby for him.
There's a lot I want to do. There's a lot around water, getting water to areas, communities that don't have it, using our solar pumps, rural schools where we could provide these children with lighting or electricity. Eunice Nayani? Mary?
And this is his advice to those thinking of daring abroad on our Diaspora Bite.
There are opportunities there and there are opportunities here, but I would not try and tell my fellow folks who are trying to move over there to get a better life that it's going to be easy.
That's a perfect example of knowledge and skills transfer as the impact of Kenyans living abroad continues to be felt back home. And that's daring abroad.